Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Boardroom Beauty Podcast. My name is Lydia Drakeford, and I am your host. Today, I'm so excited to be joined by our special guest, Roxana Ontiveros. She is a product lead at Topicals, and I'm just going to read her very impressive bio because I know you all will be so impressed. Okay. Roxana Ontiveros is an experienced product marketer and brand strategist who's worked at some of the fastest growing brands in the beauty industry. She's dedicated her career to championing visual equity for women of color, promoting inclusivity from recruitment to product. Currently, she serves as a product marketing lead at Topicals, where she brings a cultural first approach to product marketing and innovation, leveraging her proven track record of driving transformative growth in skincare and beauty, including spearheading innovative product pipelines and increasing digital conversion rates. In her spare time, she's an advocate for the inner city, first generation low income youth, and serves on the board of USC's Norman Topping Student Aid Foundation and Las Fotos projects, advocating for equity and higher education in the arts. At Topicals, Roxana is redefining what it means to work in beauty. And I'm so excited to welcome her today because it is also the day after her birthday. Happy birthday,
Thank
Roxana.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with you.
I'm so happy to have you. I love how our paths have collided in our professional journeys. And it's been such a pleasure to just watch you grow and continue to crush it at Topicals.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad whenever we get together, I just feel like it's just like synergy and like we have like similar paths. So I'm happy to be here with you.
Yes, girls here. So, okay, you do a lot for so many people. I'm always so amazed for your community, for your consumers that you serve. I would love to know, like, as someone who's leading and somebody who so many people look up to, how do you take time to like make sure you're good? Because I think that's something that's so overlooked. So how are you taking time for yourself, especially because like things are kind of crazy? We're currently in Los Angeles, and I just want to, like address that like these are not normal times. So I would love to know, like, how are you making sure that you're pouring into yourself as well as showing up for the community?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really tough question right now because it's such a powerful question, but it feels so tough because I don't really think that there is that time to kind of pour back. I think just like setting the stage for like LA and what's going on with like different immigrant communities. I feel like right now self-care kind of looks like being in community with like my family, the community of LA at large, and also having these important conversations with my friends like time and time again. I feel like I'm super active and involved in my community no matter what. And so right now it just looks like being in solidarity here in LA with others, and then also even like in other cities. So I feel like when I was able to talk to you about what's going on in LA, I think it just feels like super nourishing and emotionally fulfilling when I can connect emotionally with other people about the experience that we're having here. So even though right now in like this season and this time of my life, I don't have the opportunity to really invest in so much self-care, what I find is that the most important thing to me right now is being able to support the Los Angeles immigrant community and immigrant communities across the country in making sure that we have a level of protection or resources that we need, just because it's so incredibly difficult to live here right now with everything that's going on with ICE raids.
I felt like it was important to start the episode in that way, just because like you have to check in, like you really do have to emotionally check in. We don't exist in like in a vacuum. Like you're a leader in beauty, but you're also a community leader. You're also a daughter, a sister, like, and you have so many different beautiful layers of your identity. So thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate you, I guess, thinking of me in that way, because I think that so many people in LA, especially like if you're an immigrant daughter or like immigrant son or however you identify, it's so like deeply entrenched in like your identity and like lived experience to take care of others. And so I don't even think of myself as like a community leader at all. But I am heavily invested in the well-being of like my city and others in general. I think that's even what, leads a lot of the work that I do. But I never thought of myself that way, so thank you for saying it.
It's funny when you don't think of yourself as a leader. That's something that I've noticed. It's like really common amongst leaders. Like they don't think of themselves as a leader, but so many people do.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's so much to unpack with that like nuance and dynamic of like leadership, because you probably think of a leader as someone who you look up to, but then like so many people look up to you, and it's incredibly powerful how like that identity shifts. But are you originally from Los Angeles?
I am, yeah. I'm from Highland Park, which is like northeast of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And I identify with so many parts of LA just because of the areas that I grew up in. And I feel like I identify with, downtown. I identify with parts of South Central, Compton, like from the northeast down to the southeast. Like I have so many rich experiences in like almost every neighborhood in LA.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I'm from here.
So from here, and okay, I did a little bit of research and was in no way surprised that you graduated in like the top 1% at USC.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Because like, first of all, USC is a big school. It's also a very elite school, and you graduated in the top 1%.
Yeah, that was a moment, honestly, because I remember like being in my poli-sci classes there. I just feeling like so much self-doubt. And I felt like I had to prove to the rest of my classmates that I was smart. Like, even if they weren't thinking that actively, that's what I was projecting. And so I had like so much, this like heavy burden when I was in school. And my poli-sci classes specifically, because I was a double major, but in poli-sci, the rooms were a lot less diverse. So I just felt like I have to prove something right. And I put so much pressure on myself when I was at USC. It was my first time being in an environment that reflected like, something completely different than the areas that I grew up in, even in terms of like socioeconomic status. It was the first time I learned that you could go to a private high school. It was the first time that I learned that you could study abroad in high school. And I thought, those experiences felt super foreign to me. And so I think with that level of responsibility, once I kind of got over that, I had like high expectations for myself, because I had these goals immediately after college of getting my degree, not only in poli-sci, but getting a law degree. So I was thinking like maybe like a JD, PhD, and becoming a civil rights attorney. There's a whole reason why
that tracks.
But like also, it was, because of my dad and all of those things. But the point is that initially I had like another career path in mind. And so I made it my responsibility to get like the best grades possible while I was at USC, because I read a book on how you get into law school, and it really emphasized the importance of getting a really high LSAT score and then also a high GPA. Wow. And so I knew that if I wanted to get into like Yale Law, Harvard Law, then I needed to have a solid, like a really, really high GPA. So I was in undergrad with a really important goal in mind. So I think that is what really kind of drove me into kind of, doing like the 1%, the top 1%, and then also just being super active at USC. Like I was in clubs. I had an amazing internship at the White House Initiative on Educational Excellence for Hispanics. And it was like my first airplane ride ever as an adult. And I went
from
to USC.
LA to DC.
From LA to DC. I had this incredible mentor, Alejandra, and I met her, and then I ended up getting exposed to this awesome opportunity. And so it was my first airplane ride out of LA, flew to DC, had that amazing internship. And so basically, my undergraduate experience was not only like my grades and this pressure to succeed academically, but also becoming super well-rounded in the level of like internships that I was doing, the community service, and how community-oriented and like advocacy related I kind of was. So it was a completely transformative experience, and I'm so proud of what I did there. I can't believe that I was so young and felt like maybe I had so much to prove at one point, or just like a goal in mind. I think that helped me be super ambitious. And yeah, I think, it felt like when I was graduating and I was super decorated and with all of these different accolades, like top 1% of my graduating class, my name is on the Levy Library at USC because of some of the things that I was a part of.
That legacy.
Yeah, but it's really, I think back and like I admire who I was then, because I just feel like when you're young and like in your early 20s, you really do want to change the world, and you have this passion and this fire. And I had also a level of responsibility to my community to do really well. So I think it really made for like the perfect storm, and I'm proud of what I did then and who I was
You
then.
should be very proud. And it's like not everyone gets to look back at older versions of themselves and say, I'm proud of that. Like, you know, and you led with integrity and keeping, you know, legacy and community in mind. And I think that's really special, especially because today you still see so much of that in what you do. And so, like, I'm really curious about, well, one, it's just really cool to see that trend or that theme be present in old versions of yourself and current versions of yourself. But it's like you're such like a beauty girl. Like you worked in so many beauty brands, and it's really funny to hear that you were interested in like law and like going to law school. So like I'm just really curious to learn the kind of pathway to your first beauty experience. Like as a child, could you see yourself being an executive in beauty when you were like 10 years old? And I know part of it is knowing what's even possible, but I find the transition from like law to beauty really funny.
Yeah, no, I think like it's a trip. Like I don't,
Yeah.
I think that that's part of, and I was talking to one of my mentors that I mentioned actually recently about this. Like I am thinking about how do I consolidate what it feels like a fragmented identity, right? And like it feels like such a jump and such a jolt. But I think the reasons I think for pursuing law at the time were really practical because I came into USC as a first generation college student, and I had different dreams when I was younger, and what I've kind of brought it back into now. And when I was talking to my parents about like what do I pursue, but there was no actual major for what I really wanted to do in my heart.
Of course.
And because of that, and I didn't know a career in beauty existed. So because of for those reasons, I was asking my parents, like, what should I major in? What should I study? And I was trying to take different classes to see what really resonated with me. And all my dad knew what to recommend to me was like being a doctor and attorney. And I knew that like medicine wasn't for me because I couldn't really get behind like the rote memorization that's required to be like really good at like bio and all those things.
Yeah.
And so I ended up deciding, okay, I'm going to do law school. And I think when I made that decision, I ended up having to look for figures that I could kind of replicate their path. And so I felt like there was such a linear path in law that existed. And I ended up reading this book on like some biographies on Sonia Sotomayor, one of our Supreme Court justices. And I learned, you know, that she had to go on to Princeton. I learned that she had to get straight A's and all of those things. And so understanding like her path helped me cultivate mine at USC. And that's why I was, you know, super ambitious while I was there because I knew what I needed to do to get to the next level. And I did
had like a visual figure that you could kind of model your career after.
Right. And I was like studying books on her and her life and just learning everything that I could so I could do that. But so that was kind of the path that I started in. And the reason that it ended up getting oriented towards like civil rights law is because I knew that I didn't want to be at a big law firm. Like if I was going to pursue the path of law as a way to honor my parents and based on the advice and feedback of my parents, I knew that I had to make it applicable to my actual interest in some way. And I remember like I was Googling it and trying to learn more. And then I came across public interest law. And I learned that, you know, I was
don't
really
even know what that is.
yeah, public interest law is like kind of like civil rights, like public, you know, so this is kind of like working at a legal nonprofit and doing a lot of like kind of like thinking about ACLU, NAACP, like those organizations that really advocate for people of color. And so I ended up crafting and like thinking of that as a potential path. And so that's how I was able to make law as a profession something that felt more connected to like who I was and what I really cared about. And that's why, you know, I did all of that for that time. But there was a reason why later I ended up kind of shifting out of it. But ultimately, I think during that time I had such a linear path ahead of me. But what I really wanted to do since I was little is I wanted to be a creative director at a fashion magazine.
I feel like that's every girl's, like every
Dream.
beauty fashion girl's dream,
Yes,
right? But doesn't it feel so, like if you're not from a place, and I grew up in like the South, so that felt super inaccessible to me. Like that felt like crazy. Like there's just absolutely no way. But what about like the creative direction was attractive to you?
I think it was because I grew up in like the garment industry.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I grew up in the garment industry of LA. So that's why when I talk about like having like such rich like lived experiences in so many parts of the city, and like it's because of everywhere that we like frequented and all of the spaces that I've been in. So we My mom doesn't drive on the freeway. She like only drives like on the street. And basically that meant like that we were driving from like Northeast, from Highland Park all the way through LA to get to my grandmother's garment factory. So my grandma had a taller de costura, which is just basically where you sew and do things like that. She was a seamstress. Yeah. So she always actually had, I'm really close to my grandma. She always had like fashion design dreams, but she didn't get the opportunity to go to school. And some of that is really required for a career in like fashion because of like the pattern making. Even if you're not doing something like in New York, for example, just to be able to execute something here as a designer in LA requires that level of like literacy. And so she didn't have that opportunity, but she was really great at sewing. And so she had a garment factory here in LA, like in downtown and South Central. So that's also where I spent a lot of my time and my upbringing since I was very, very young. And that is where I got a lot of the shaping around like creativity. And
I can see it. Like it's actually everything you're saying is just like light bulb, light bulb, light bulb. It's all coming together.
Yeah,
for
like,
me.
oh, it makes sense why she is like that.
It all makes so much
Yeah.
sense. So, okay, leading as a Latina woman at a leading brand like Topicals, what are some things that you've learned about yourself as you've grown into this leadership role? Because I mean, a lot of times we doubt ourselves, especially when the opportunity feels so big. And so, like, I mean, what are things that you learned about yourself as you've grown into these big shoes to fill?
I think honestly, like I feel like I'm still finding out right now. Like I still feel like
That's good.
Yeah, I feel like I'm still finding things out. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that there's aspects that feel really disjointed, right? Like having this really analytical side and critical thinking skills that I've really developed over time, but also really being like deeply creative, and that being entrenched in my family history, right? Which I was mentioning with the garment factories. Like I see them both working together, but I think that's like a duality that I'm still trying to figure out what that would continue to look like as like being a leader in beauty. But I think that no matter what, like my cultural identity and my heritage is what I lead with in terms of like my lived experience, no matter what. Like it's so like they're so deeply like entrenched and like braided into one another, and I love that and I appreciate that.
And I mean, visibly, as somebody who loves Topicals, who loves the campaigns, who loves the products you all bring to life, I see it in the intentionality and the way that you are thinking about how this will look on specific communities. But
Right.
like, there was this one campaign that I loved. You so beautifully brought Topicals to the LA Latina community. Can you talk about that?
Yeah.
I loved that experience.
Thank you. That means
I
a lot
wish
to
I was
me.
there, like in person. It really
Yes.
gave you that FOMO of
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it felt and it looked so real and authentic. Like, oh, this is very specific and so thoughtfully done for this community.
Right. No, I really appreciate you saying that. And I think it means so much more to me, the fact that like other people who maybe didn't even grow up with that experience to feel either a sense of FOMO or even relatability, because the way that LA makes you like a global citizen, even if you are not directly from that community, it's still like if you know, like you might have grown up with people like other like Latinos or other communities that even though you might not be part of it, you still understand the cultural references. And that is the type of marketing that I love to do. Like kind of like an if you know, and also like assuming the best and having the highest expectations for our consumers, knowing that people of all different backgrounds are going to have like a reference point for the things that we do and activate. Like you don't have to be part of that community to feel FOMO.
You don't have to be a part of a community to have appreciation
Yeah.
for it. Like,
Yeah.
and me not even being from LA, I could definitely tell this is a very like, if you know, type of thing. And so because you are, again, very LA, Latina product marketing, like I'd love to move into kind of this area of your identity, the product marketing brain, because you are so brilliant.
Thank you.
Working on product for a brand like Topicals that continues to redefine what is possible in the industry. Like there must be a lot of pressure because you all continue to deliver. So I know that you don't take anything lightly. So, okay, working at Goop, Way, Ilia, and now Topicals, what are some of your favorite products that you have worked on? And how has this experience like looked differently across all the different brands being in a product marketing role?
Yeah, I would say that a lot of my favorite products that I've ever worked on, like have been some of the products that I've developed at Topicals.
Yeah.
So that would look like Faded Bar.
Love Faded Bar.
Yes, Faded
Just
Bar.
brilliant. There are so many like bleaching products
Yes.
out there
Yeah.
that are so harmful. And I never could find anything for like, you know, a dark mark after a scar.
Yeah, yeah.
And so Faded Bar was just like chef's kiss to me.
Thank you. No, that means a lot. And I think like it obviously there's so much intention, right? And like story and like reasons why those products come about, and also being super careful because I'm not for any products or any copy or any verbiage that indicates any form of skin lightening like whatsoever, and that's just such a big part of like my own like ethos as a product developer and as someone who also works for a Black-owned skincare company. And so I was really careful with that, with still like meeting a product need, which is maybe the excess pigment that happens at like because as a result of like hyperpigmentation, but not impacting like the existing melanin that exists in melanated skin.
Right.
So that is really that was really the goal. But I would say Faded Bar was one of my favorites because I was able to tell a rich cultural story behind it with like
so rich.
Yeah.
So rich.
Yeah, with products that I grew up, but also like I kind of with product development and like product marketing, like I have this intuition where I can feel and like know like where the need is and what's gonna be hot next. And so I feel like we did that with Faded Bar, did that with Slick Salve, also did it with Clearly, and now a new launch that we have coming up on July 1st, which I'm really excited about. Ooh. Yeah.
Well, we'll have to chat behind the scenes.
Yeah. But those are some of my favorites. I would say Faded Bar because of the product market fit and the story, and then Slick Salve because Slick Salve has been one of the most like culturally like impactful lip balms on the market.
1,000%.
I think. Yeah, it's a hot topic. I think when I launched it definitely was such a hot topic, and I'm so flattered when I see people wearing it and having it in their bags. Like when I have my friends, family like pull it out of their bags, or people that I just met. And I also recently just saw this young girl and her family at Sephora when I was in New York buy our Faded Reform, and I was just like, wow, like we've made it. Like this is beyond just like our communities,
It's beyond our communities. It also like transcends generations, knowing that like young people like millennials, Gen Z, like it's, I mean, maybe even Gen Alpha, I don't know, with like, they love a lip balm. Gen Alpha loves a lip balm.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool. And not every brand is out to push boundaries. And so like I alluded to before, being in a product role is really, there's a lot of responsibility. Like the product makes the brand, clearly. And more, I think we're seeing brands having to come up with truly innovative product, which is, again, very hard to do. It takes so much research. It takes so much creativity. Even the process of coming up with a concept, getting it on the shelf. What do you think the brands that win prioritize in that process of developing a product?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is, of course, like innovation, but also like listening to your customer and being really kind of community minded. Like if you have an existing community, for example, that like you constantly like connect with or brief, I think you have to listen to what people are really wanting from you. But I think what really makes a brand excellent in the product development category is having that intuitive feeling around anticipating people's needs. And
this is the second time you said intuitive, which I love, because I think in business, people often just want to look at the numbers and they don't know how to use the intuition to make decisions, and it feels so woo-woo.
Right.
But I actually think that probably is like your superpower in leadership, like having that strong intuition married with that analytical and creative skill set. But continue. I wanted to just call that out because I think intuition is so often overlooked,
right.
especially when in a consumer business, when it comes to anticipating the needs of your community.
No, absolutely. I agree. And I think no matter what, especially like working at a beauty brand, you have to be able to back it up with like data and numbers. And so I still like, do research and like some market research on being able to prove this concept. But when it starts with that sense of like intuition and feeling and a knowing and an inner knowing, then I have to back that up with a lot of that analytical stuff, and of course, like demonstrate like kind of like a proof of concept there, and then get other people's buy-in. So that's still part of the process, but it can be so deeply personal, and I think so personal, and that's why people end up being successful, like our founder Alameda and so many other founders at these amazing like indie beauty brands in LA. They start with a problem and like that's a solution, something that they've solved, right? And it comes so deeply from their lived experience and their identity, and that's why only they like have that magic and like that magic sauce and are able to kind of execute and bring something super brilliant to the market that hasn't been done before, and then obviously like capitalize on that. But I think that that's probably like one of the most important things, which is being able to integrate and balance both, and then also just mainly being able to look to your community, understand what their needs are, and have innovation be at like the heart of everything you do, because there's been so much done in beauty already.
Do you think that the demand for innovation in product is causing some brands to make mistakes?
That is a definitely like a possibility, because I feel like every brand has a different goal in terms of the product pipeline or product assortment that they want to have. I would say probably one of the biggest challenges right now when it comes to like diversity and inclusion in skincare is that when you don't have like a robust recruitment process, and this is why like I know we talked about it early in the bio, like I'm interested in and I'm a champion for diversity from recruitment to product, like very, very specific, because it ends up being like a hiring issue.
Yeah.
That's where you end up getting products that, or an assortment of foundations, for example, that don't have a really wide range in terms of shades. It also ends up impacting leadership because, for example, you don't have people of color on your board. You don't have people of color in your product development team. You don't have people of color in your marketing campaigns. You end up picking the traditional influencer for a brand campaign and paying them so much money. You end up having shades that are so much lighter, or you end up having leaders that decide that they don't want to invest in products for people with deeper skin tones, for example, because they say that they don't sell. And so it ends up being like this cycle, this kind of like self-fulfilling prophecy when it comes to skincare and beauty in general, where the lack of diversity in the people that work there ends up being like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
No, it does. It does. And it shows. And I think diversity in beauty has for so long just been about like the models, obviously the product availability and range of shades, but going back to like what actually makes the full cycle of this successful is having the right people in those seats.
Yeah.
Because you can't just develop products for a wide range of people, like truly execute it well.
Yeah.
Without people in those key decision-making seats, which I think continues to be overlooked again and again, which is why like we're in 2025, and unfortunately, and I'm sure these brands, I think the intention behind it is like all well and good, but unfortunately it just continues to miss the mark in execution. So I love the fact that you just touched on the importance of diversity in leadership roles, which is why we need people like you again. Leadership, diversity in leadership in the beauty industry.
Yeah, no, thank you for saying that. And I think like no matter what, they're like my experience is not going to speak to the experience of so many others, but my values are like so deeply rooted in representation and visual equity, like no matter what. And so there's areas if there's areas where I have gaps, or there's areas where I know I need to bring in like another expert or do whatever, like I do those things. And but I think that you have to have those values already.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of brands have those values, or sometimes like it's just like people don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
But I think no matter what, I still take it upon myself to try to make the beauty industry a lot more diverse. And so I always speak to whomever I can when they mention that they're interested in working in beauty. I make sure that all of our products at Topicals really are created for people from Fitzpatrick 6 to 1, right? Fitzpatrick 6 being the darkest and Fitzpatrick 1 being the lightest. And so that's where my priority is no matter what. My product development process is like deeply rooted in a sense of like equity and representation. And I'm going to take that with me like, everywhere I go. So I can only speak for myself in terms of those ethos as a product marketer and a product developer, but I hope that I can have an impact on that being more widely adopted across the board in beauty in general.
I love that you're speaking on this from an ethos and values perspective, because I think that's where it starts.
Yeah.
It starts there.
Yeah.
And so thank you for sharing that. And this is why I wanted to interview you.
Thank you.
Because it really does show up in all aspects of what you do.
Thank you.
Okay. We're going to wrap things up with just a little bit of fun. You're a product girly. I know your top shelf is top tier.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. You're going on a Euro vacation.
Okay.
You can pick one product from each category: hair, body, lip, fragrance, complexion, skin. We're going to go through this one by one.
Okay, cool.
What are you bringing? What are you packing?
Okay. Remind me which each category is so I don't forget.
I know. Okay.
But the
hair
first. Hair first. Okay. For hair, gosh, that's a little bit tough.
Because you have lovely, luscious hair.
Thank you. Thank you. Maybe like the thing that's really giving my hair like what it needs right now is honestly just like a Pantene shampoo.
For real.
And yes, and I'm saying that like this is my own PSA because I've worked on shampoos and conditioners that don't have sulfates. For example, I think people need a sulfate-based hair care product.
That's what really like gets the grease out, right?
Yeah. So I think in general, and this is just in general within the beauty industry, like there's so many ingredients that have been demonized or there's been a lot of misinformation on, and sulfate in particular, I think is an ingredient and something that people have really shied away from. And the industry at large, in terms of hair care, anything you'll find at Sephora, you're gonna find like sulfate-free, paraben-free. But really, sulfate is what is going to remove a lot of that dirt and grime that exists on the scalp or any residue. And so I think that, as you know, as soon as I've adopted like just a regular drugstore shampoo back in my hair care routine, at least as a shampoo, not exactly the conditioner, it's really done wonders for me as someone who's like oily and, acne prone and who has to.
I would have never guessed that drugstore shampoo achieves this look.
Thank you. Drugstore shampoo and then other volumizing products, of course, but at least for the scalp, like scalp health and buildup, I have to use Pantene.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so body.
Oh, Slather. Slather, our exfoliating serum.
Love some Slather.
Slather is amazing. You apply it, honestly, overnight. You wake up with super soft skin. It has retinol. It has lactic acid. It has squalane. So that is a product that is so slept on, in my opinion. And one of my favorite.
It's slept on, but the girls love Slather.
Yeah. Some love Slather when they try it. But like in terms of like our general assortment, I know people are not always just like running to the shelf to get Slather in the same way they're getting Slick Salve.
Slick Salve. I mean, it's obviously like we love our Slick Salve, but I also love Slather, especially for the summer when your body's out, you're trying to be smooth. Okay, lip. We already know. Can I? Okay, I'm gonna help you out because if I were to answer this, it's gonna be Slick Salve. How do you say it?
Slick Salve Acai.
Slick Salve Acai.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that tint, the smell, the application, like everything was just so well done. So well done. So thank you for Slick Salve Acai. I've gone through so many. Okay, let's do fragrance.
Yeah. Fragrance.
Are you a fragrance girl?
I am.
I feel like you would be.
Yeah, I am a fragrance girl. I don't have like such a big assortment. Like I know some people do that I follow, which is like amazing. There's some people who are really hardcore and I love that.
Yeah.
But my favorite fragrance of all time is Kilian Angel Share. That is my go-to fragrance.
I'm not a fragrance girl, so I'm not going to act like I know. But it sounds very
it's so good. It's so good. I keep going back to it. So yeah, that's my favorite. Or a Byredo, Rose of No Man's Land is also amazing.
Ooh, yes, I do like Byredo.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going through them all.
Okay, my favorite mascara right now, I think like lashes are probably one of the most important things
in terms of wispy.
Thank you. In terms of like face framing and really illuminating the face. So I try to have a really good mascara. Right now it's the Cali Ray mascara, which is basically a tubing mascara. So it coats the lash and you get less of like the fallout. I kind of have like hooded eyes, and so that pressure that applies on my lids can kind of create a little transfer. So for me, a tubing mascara is important. And for anybody who has similar experiences, I would say the Cali Ray mascara is amazing.
Cali Ray mascara. And let's finish on
Complexion. I think that One Size is doing amazing things with complexion.
Yes, you told me.
Cosmetics in general. Yeah, I love Patrick's ethos around, or just because of that heavy makeup and like a really high standards for production. I think that the product development at One Size is amazing, but essentially one of my favorites for complexion is the One Size like blurring foundation. I think it has some great technology around it that immediately smooths and blurs. And so that's another product that's slept on, but it's one of my favorites.
You know what? I thought we were going to finish on complexion, but we're going to finish on skin, the most important thing.
Yeah. So for skin, there's so many.
I know. I'm sorry. I know that's hard. We finish on the hardest one.
Oh, gosh.
No pressure.
It really depends on what, it depends. But I think that right now, for me, I keep going back to the Paula's Choice BHA exfoliant.
Oh, it's just like,
yes,
it never fails.
Yeah,
it literally never fails. And if you're somebody who can like take a chemical exfoliant, for me, like what it does for my pores and get like truly giving me that glass skin look, like that is something that I will always continue to restock.
Yeah, all the time. It's like it's just always gonna be there. Like it's part of my routines. But that's like probably one of my favorite for just like every day. Like
it's not going anywhere for me.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love this product chat with the product girly again.
Me too.
I'm just so happy you made the time to chat through your whole story and your everything that's just true to you. And so thank you for sharing. Thank you for your vulnerability. And you're so impressive. You're going to be, honestly, like, you're going to do great things. I've always thought that ever since I met you.
Oh my God. That coming from you is like everything. I obviously really respect everything that you're doing. So this is like an honor to be here. Like I feel like I'm in good company with so much of your previous guests. So
thank you so much, Roxana.
Thank you.
That was perfect.